It was evening. A heavy silence filled the house. But inside the man, a storm was raging. What began as a small argument with his wife quickly turned into a heated fight. Voices rose. Anger burned. And then he picked up a stick. "I'll just scare her. I'll only discipline her." That's what he told himself. But when the stick rose, one strike, then another, then a third, suddenly she collapsed. The man froze. The stick slipped from his trembling hand. "Get up. It's enough. Get up." But she didn't move. Her eyes stayed half open. Her breath was gone. In that moment, he realized this was no longer discipline. This was murder, the shadow of fear. He never intended to kill her. But death does not ask about intentions. When it comes, it comes. The man wandered around the house, lost, like someone who had lost his way in darkness. Fear gripped his heart. Fear of her family. Fear of people. Fear of the truth. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he stepped out into the night. The streets were dark, and so was his fate. He walked until he reached his closest friend. A devil's advice. After hearing everything, his friend fell silent. Then slowly he said, "If you tell the truth, you're finished. Her family won't spare you." The man, shaking, asked, "Then what should I do?" The friend narrowed his eyes. "There is a way, but it requires courage." "What way?" He leaned closer and whispered, "Find a handsome young man. Invite him to your house as a guest. Then kill him." The man's heart stopped, but the friend continued, "Place his body next to your wife. And when people come, tell them you caught them together in sin." The man stepped back. The idea felt heavy, dark, impossible. But fear sometimes pushes a man straight into the arms of the devil. He whispered, "Maybe this is my only way." The guest who would change fate. The next morning, the man sat outside his house, his eyes fixed on the road, his heart drowning in fear. "Just one more time. If I do this, I'll be free." But no one is ever freed by sin. They only fall deeper. Hours passed. Then finally, a young man appeared. Handsome, calm, innocent. A small book in his hand. A gentle smile on his face. The man called out, "Brother, come here for a moment." The young man stopped. "Yes? What is it?" The man forced a smile. "I haven't had a guest in a long time. Come, let's share some tea." At first, the young man refused. But after insistence, he agreed, not knowing. These were the last steps of his life. The second murder. As soon as the young man stepped inside, the door closed behind him. A few moments later, a scream, then another, and then silence. A heavy, suffocating silence. The young man, innocent, unaware, was killed. The man dragged his body and placed it beside his wife. Two lifeless bodies lying side by side. One killed in anger, the other in cold calculation. Then he sat and waited, a lie that was believed. Not long after, his wife's family arrived. The moment they saw the scene, two bodies, their hearts shook. The man broke into tears and cried out, "I saw them together. I saw them in sin. My honor couldn't bear it. So I killed them both." The family looked at one another. Stories like this were not unheard of. And sometimes, people believe what is easier to accept, without deep questioning, without searching for truth. They left, just like that. The man exhaled. "I'm safe," he whispered. But what he thought was escape was only the beginning of his punishment. A father's unease. That same day, the friend, the one who gave the idea, sat in his home, restless. Something wasn't right. His son had not returned. He always came home on time. Always. But today, nothing. The father stood up, his heart tightening with every step. And without thinking twice, he walked straight to his friend's house. The question that changed everything. When he arrived, he asked quietly, "Did you do it?" The man smiled with false confidence. "Yes, everything went perfectly." The father swallowed hard, then said, "Show me the young man." The man pointed casually toward the body, and in that moment, the world stopped. The pit he dug himself. The father stepped closer, his hands trembling, his breath breaking. He looked at the young man's face, and suddenly, he screamed, This is my son." The ground vanished beneath the killer's feet. His eyes widened in horror. "Your son?" The father collapsed beside the body, lifting his son's head into his arms. His cries filled the street. "This is him, the one who left home this morning, the one I raised, the one I guided." Then he broke. "The same one whose father gave the advice that killed him." The killer stood frozen, like a statue. No tears, no words, no escape. The end of the lie. The father held his son's lifeless body, his tears falling like rain. The killer stood there, broken, silent. "I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know," he whispered. But now, knowing meant nothing. The father cried out, "I told you to deceive others, but I never knew. I was digging a grave for my own son." When people gather, the father's screams spread through the streets. Neighbors rushed in. Within moments, a crowd had formed. 2 bodies on the ground, a crying father, and a silent killer. Whispers began. Questions rose. And slowly, doubt replaced belief. When people learned that this strange young man was actually the friend's own son, everything changed. The lie began to collapse. A sentence that became a lesson. The father, sitting beside his son, said through tears, "I dug a pit for another, and fell into it myself." The crowd fell silent, heads lowered, because some truths don't need explanation. When justice awoke, an elder stepped forward and said, "This is no longer a street matter. This must go to the judge." There was no escape now. The killer had nowhere to run, and the father, whose heart was shattered, finally spoke the truth. "I am a witness. This all began with my evil advice. But the killings, he committed them." The killer lowered his head. No more lies. No more strength. The day of judgment. Days later, they stood before the judge. The courtroom was silent. The judge looked at the killer. "Do you confess that you struck your wife and then killed an innocent man?" The man replied in a broken voice, "Yes, but I didn't intend it. I was afraid." The judge said firmly, "Fear is never an excuse for murder, and lies can never heal a crime." Then he turned to the father. "And you?" The man replied, "I confess my sin. I gave the advice. I thought I was clever, but it was the devil speaking through me." The verdict that changed lives. The judge remained silent for a long moment, then finally said, "The first act was done in anger, but the second was done with intention, and that is far more grave." The sentence was given, a severe punishment for the killer, and punishment as well for the man who encouraged the crime. The final scene. As they were led away, no one celebrated. No one spoke. Because this was not victory. This was a lesson. Before entering prison, the father whispered, "If I had remained silent, my son would still be alive." And the killer looked toward the sky and said, "If I had just one moment of patience, there wouldn't be two graves today." The pit that became three graves. Years passed, but the people of that town never forgot what happened. In the cemetery, three graves lay side by side. One for the woman who became the victim of a single moment of anger. One for the innocent young man who was killed to hide another man's sin. And the third for the son who was burned in the fire of his own father's advice. The man behind bars. The killer was in prison. The man who tried to escape one problem had lost his freedom forever. Every night, he saw it again. That moment, when he raised the stick and lowered his mind, he would whisper to himself, "If I had just one moment of patience, if I had just dropped the stick, none of this would have happened." But time never goes backward. The father who died while living. The father lived outside the prison, but inside, he was more imprisoned than anyone. Every day, he went to the cemetery. He sat beside his son's grave and spoke with a broken voice. "My son, I am your killer, even if my hands never struck you." He had learned a truth too late. Advice is also an action, and sometimes words cut deeper than swords. A lesson that lived on. This story became a living lesson in that town. Mothers would tell their sons, "Do not let anger control you. Anger blinds the heart." Fathers would say, "Never give evil advice. One day it will burn you." And the elders would repeat, "Whoever digs a pit for others will fall into it himself." Final message. One stick. Three graves. One piece of advice. Two broken families. One moment of anger. A lifetime of regret. Life is too short to make decisions in anger, and lies are too weak to carry the weight of truth. If the man had shown patience, if the friend had spoken wisely, today the cemetery would not be this silent.